we're going to start this discussion or this conversation. And you know, this is our fourth menstrual conversation on periods. And so far, throughout our discussions, we've just been delving into issues, and we keep learning. With each discussion, we keep learning. And so far, what's come up over our discussions, in fact, looking from our previous discussion, the last one we had on PMS, most of the themes or a key thing that was running through our conversations was that one that had to do with communicating. You know, so we had people saying that how do we communicate about our menstrual experiences? And we had guys who were saying that we don't know, we don't know what you're going through, so we can't help you if we don't know what you're going through. So if you can open up and let us know what's happening to you, what you're going through, then we can actually show support, right? Yeah. So if we don't know and we are not showing support, you can't blame us for being heartless. But if you tell us and we are not showing support, then you can say that we are being heartless. So today, what we want to do is to delve into the topic of opening up the conversation. How do you go about talking to your boyfriend, your colleague, or anybody for that matter about your menstrual experience in terms of building a social support as we go through menstrual experiences? And so that's the topic for today. And I'm excited to be doing this hosting today with Genevieve Zongolo, part of the Menstrual Team of Voice1Africa. And Genevieve, yeah, if you're here, you just pop up and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Please excuse my
again.
attire for today. It's very cold.
Yes, it is cold. It's true.
Yeah, it's cold. Oh yeah, I'm Genevieve Zongol. And then what else am I supposed to say, Joe?
Oh, just a little. She's a poet. Just introduce yourself. Yeah, we want to know you a little more.
For those that don't know me, I'm a poet, writer / performer. I'm an LLB law student. I consider myself to be an entrepreneur as well. Yeah, man, that's a short summary of me.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. We have some of our panelists. So we try to make our conversations as casual as possible because, these subjects in our part of the world usually considered taboo topics. And we're trying to create a safe space where we just open up and talk about issues without any form of inhibition. And so there are no off topics. We're just respecting each other and making it a space where you can just flow, So yeah, we have Annie. Annie, if you would like to introduce yourself too.
Hello, everyone.
Hi,
I'm Annie from Zambia, and what do I do? I'm a student nurse, and I write poetry as well. And yes, I'm passionate about women, which isn't obvious because I'm a woman, but yes, you get what I mean.
Yeah. It's not all women who are passionate about women, so yeah. Okay, so we have Petro. Yeah, Petro, it's good to have you. Petro, if you introduce yourself too.
Yeah, thank you. Hi guys. I'm Petro. I'm also a young poet. Yeah, I'm a human rights advocate. Yeah, I stand for people. A humanitarian. Yeah, I believe in the youth of Africa, and my poetry is just around those topics. So yeah, I'm glad to be here today, and yeah, and I hope I'll enjoy the moments discussing with you. Thank
Awesome.
You.
It's great to have you, Petro. Petro published his recent book, My First Mosaic, which you can find on Amazon. Yeah, so you can grab a copy. Yeah. So Linda Raji, you can also introduce yourself. I'm just calling out the panelists or our core team. Yeah. Yeah, Linda.
Hi, everybody. My name is Linda Raji from Nigeria. I am a girl child advocate, and of late, I'm also a boy child advocate. Yes, I believe in investing in boys because it's becoming counterproductive, focusing on girls and nothing for the boys. And they are, at least in my society, they are becoming the problem. I believe in the boys and the for CP, general well-being of everybody. I work with girls basically, especially in regards to menstrual hygiene and comprehensive and sexuality education. I was there just last weekend again, and it was another interesting session. That's why I'm happy to be part of this session, because I sometimes share experience from the questions asked me.
Thank you, Linda. Yeah, we're experiencing some breakages in your network. Yeah, but at least we had most of part of what you said. Yeah.
Okay.
And then Tawanda. Tawanda. Tawanda, are you there? Okay, so whilst we wait for Tawanda, I'd like, today we have somebody from the Mandela Institute for Development Studies, that's Chidi. So I would like to have her introduce herself briefly. Yes, then we'll just zoom into the conversation.
Okay, sorry, I look a bit dodgy today. Don't judge me. Hi, everyone. My name is Sidi, and yes, like Joseph said, I work at the Mandela Institute of Development Studies, so in the scholarship program. So if you guys are interested in scholarships, holler at me. I'm very excited to listen and hear and finally find out what Joseph has been up to and what you guys have been talking about regarding menstruation. I think it's a great topic. And yeah, I'm really here mostly to learn. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. It's good to have you, Chidi. And then I have my friend from the Red Cross, Red Crescent Climate Center, Quinn. If you just introduce yourself briefly, she's in charge of youth issues. Yeah. So Quinn.
Yes. Hi, everyone, and greetings from Finland. Thank you for inviting me here. So as Joe explained, I'm working at the Climate Center, mostly with in the youth team. We're organizing youth summits and trying to engage a lot of youth members to our climate action strategies and things like that. I hope that, I know I'm I'm a bit far away from you guys, but I hope that you still feel safe to share things. I said to the Joe, like, even though I was born and raised in Finland, we had a lot of taboos when it comes to this topic in our community. My parents, like, they came after Vietnam War to Finland, and there were like a lot of taboo topics when it comes to this team we are having today. But I hope that you feel okay that I'm here.
Yeah, we're just so comfortable. It's good to have you, Quinn. Yeah, so yeah, we're going to zoom into it. So just before we started, I was having a side chat with Adetola, and he was telling me about, he was not going to join the conversation today, but someone just told him about an experience she had, or a friend of hers had, and how that person's menstrual experience was really something that I think the person was passing out. Adetola, if I'm not mistaken. And so like he was like, yo, this intense. People pass out through heavy menstrual flow. And he was like, no, I have to join this conversation today to learn more about it. So Adetola, I'll start from you. How did this conversation, today we are just talking about opening up, how we go about talking about menstrual experience or sharing menstrual experiences. So I want to find out how this person began the discussion with you. How did it begin?
I mean, the person was, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Petro, Linda, Genevieve, Queen, and every other person. Sorry, I'll have to run through a lot of names if I greet everyone. So basically, she was talking about buying blood tonic, right? And I was like, what for? And she was like, oh, it's very important. And I'm like, why? which is like she needs to buy blood tonic every 3 months. Otherwise, her blood levels will really go very low. And I'm like, we have a medical condition. Because obviously that is a bit weird, right? At least to me as a guy. And then she's like, oh, it's because of my heavy monthly flow. And the last time I didn't do that, I was at around 7%. So I Googled this stuff and there's something like menorrhagia. I think that's what it is. That's like heavy blood flow. You know, that, I mean, from menstrual cycles. I was like, okay, hello. The only other terminology I was telling Joe that I know is dysmenorrhea, which is painful menstruation. So that's all I know. And I know that because of my mom. Like I was telling Joe that she used to send me to go and get sanitary pads for her. So as a little boy, so I've come into contact with menstruation way early. So, but you know, these things, we don't really know the full extent. The only thing I know is, it can be painful, it can have mood swings, it can be very weakening. Some people have maybe up to 7 days flow. Some people have irregular flow. Some people have 5-day cycle. Some people, the first 3 days are hell. That's pretty much what I know.
Thank you very much, Adetola. You know, so beginning from there, I'd like to ask most of us here, have you spoken about your menstrual experience with anyone before? And how was it? How did it begin? Anyone wants to go?
Yeah, I will go.
Okay, Linda.
It wasn't something I wanted to talk about. On campus, it used to be so bad that I once missed an exam and I had an automatic carryover because I was having severe cramp, and the lecturer just looked at me and said, drop that paper and go home. And I went home. I was throwing up. I was a mess. And I had this neighbor, we later became friends, by the way, and I had him. He saw me throwing up one morning because I throw up every morning. By then, I had not discovered the best medication or painkiller I could use. And he goes, are you pregnant again?
Again,
yes.
And it was all, I was ashamed. And I then understood that every month he saw me throwing up outside. He thought I was pregnant. I mean, but how can you be pregnant every single month? I don't even think it works like that. And he didn't come to ask, okay, what's going on with you? And he just threw that at me. And I also understood this was discussed before he actually said that to me. And I was so pissed off. I gave him a mind that I told him that it was an investment and we've been neighbors for a while. Had to do what's going on. I'm pregnant and felt apologized. The next month saw me there, he actually came and he was like, sorry, what can I do to help and everything. We later became friends, good neighbors, until I left that place. He graduated and left our school. That would be one experience that I didn't initiate it. I was accused and I had to defend myself and say, oh, it was my period. And he tried to make it up to me by always, whenever he sees me like that, he comes to say, how are you coping? Because I think maybe he has never seen someone have it that bad. And at least he learned through me that some women do have it bad. Speaking about the people around me, I've never really found it difficult to talk about it. If I'm having menstrual pain and someone is like, what's going on with you? And I say, I have pain. For the guys around me, and my brother inclusive, they are generally empathetic. They just go, sorry. How are you feeling now? And most times they sound sincere and genuinely concerned about my health. And later they can just call, hope you feel better. And the conversation ends there. So it's never been an awkward one for me. I'm speaking for myself now. It has never been awkward for me. I was supposed to go out on a group dinner outing some months back, and my friend was to pick us up. Well, he picked me first, and as soon as I got into the car, he looked at me. Okay, I think I shook his hand, and he said, "Are you on your period?" And yes, I was on my period. But
how
of course,
did
I
he
was
know?
freaking out, like, how can you tell? How did he know? He said, when women are on their period, their hands are warm. And I was like, huh? I never knew that. But of course, I had to tell him, yes, I'm on my period. And I got to know that that's another thing. And he's a guy and he has lots of female friends. And he somehow deduced that by himself or for himself. And it was actually true. I was on my period. And he has shook my hand other times and he never asked if I was on my period. And I wasn't on my period. So for me, it's not a shameful conversation to have, especially now that I'm working in this space. It's very easy for me to talk about it. Yeah, so for me,
And
it's
also,
not a difficult conversation.
I think in Nigeria, like Adetola was saying earlier, that in Nigeria, it's quite, the culture is quite open. Like people can easily talk about, ladies can easily talk about their menses, unless I'm mistaken.
It's not really, it depends on the circle. Of course, in urban areas, it might be easy. But if, for example, a Muslim girl who is not allowed to go to the place of worship when she's on her period, I don't think she can easily talk about her period. I go on outreaches and I have diverse girls from different ethnic groups come, and I have Muslim girls come, and those ones are just looking at me like, how can she be talking about all these things? You can always see that shock on their face. This is not a conversation they are used to having in public. But I've managed to create a safe space where it's okay to talk about this, talk about our bodies as females. And I'm quick to use myself as an example. Oh, when I was a teenager, this happened. And from there, they start to ease up and get confidence or comfortable talking and asking questions. And I try as much as possible to answer. A girl asked me last weekend, at the end, she was like, why do women have to menstruate? She had to ask, like, because I think I introduced the topic of PMS to them. And they've never heard of the term before. And I started explaining, and they were like, one was like, is that why I always have malaria every week before my period? She was like, oh, I never knew it's a thing. At school, nobody teaches us these things. You understand? So it's a safe space where girls finally get to express themselves and talk about menstruation and talk about everything happening with their bodies and talk about infection. Sorry, guys. These are issues girls face, and anyways, let me know.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Linda. Yeah. So, anyone wants to go? Genevieve, do you want to step in?
Okay, I'll go. I think it's always better, or it always feels easier talking to other women or other girls about it at first. Like I shared in my previous, or in the previous videos, was the first time I got to talk about it, because when I got it, my mom told me, oh, you can't do this, you can't play with boys, and you don't talk about it to anyone, right? And so it was only in high school with the friends I had who were talking about it. And I remember it felt so awkward. And at the same time, I was like, oh, so this is not happening to me alone. And that was the first time I was comfortable talking about it with other girls, because we were all experiencing the same thing. And I think the first time I spoke about it with a guy, it was a guy I was dating. And I could only speak about it because when I was on my periods, because I get like severe cramps, it would change like the mood we're in, or I would immediately, things just change. And he kind of like asked, so what helps? I said painkillers. And also the type of flow also has a major effect on what you go through. So there's the thick flow, and that one is more painful, right? And so that is the one that I experienced. And he actually took me to a pharmacy. Wow. And spoke to the pharmacist on my behalf that this is what I'm experiencing. What does the pharmacist like have that can help me? And I got like a type of tablet that kind of helped thin the blood. And I remember, you know, when the blood was thin, I would not be in so much pain and stuff. So, and I also felt that it's also so it's not what's the word, sustainable to keep using these, you know, things, because that also became expensive, where I got to when I could no longer afford it. So I've kind of like had to figure other ways of helping alleviate the pain. And with my current partner, it was easier to talk to him about it, because he's a person who like, he's the only male amongst his siblings. So he got to see things and learn things, and his sisters were quite open with him. And yeah, that made it easy. And he also knows like how I get when I'm on my periods or about to be on my periods. And I think another thing that I'd not shared with him before was, you know, what I experienced before. And he's really been open to learn, because now I think he understands that not everyone experiences it the same. And when I am cramping and maybe I'm with him, then he has a hot water bottle, so he boils water and fills it up and gives it to me. So yeah, that it helped talking to people about it, I guess.
Wow. Yeah, and I think even for me, reflecting from the guy's perspective, like first encounters with menstruation, like how I first got to know about menstruation, or like somebody other than even my sisters, I never even saw them going through it, or they didn't ever mention it, right? So it was always kind of a secret thing. It was when I was in the university and a lady I was dating, and that was how I actually got, because she was also cramping like Genevieve, like you're saying. And that was my first real encounter with menstruation. You know, so I think, yeah, for guys, I would like to hear from the other gentlemen, maybe your first encounters, like how a lady opened up or to you about her menstrual experience, if there's been any incidents like that for you, and you'd like to share. Davison, have you experienced any?
I'm trying to remember. I've definitely
Okay.
been through that, right?
Yeah. Monsieur Petro?
Yo, I also can't remember properly, but I think my first encounter with this issue was like this topic was in class in high school. Yeah. So um the teacher spoke about it in class, and I think that was the first time. And after that, then schoolmates could now sort of discuss the matter, and then yeah, try to now teach each other some kind of yeah, just to learn more. So it was that kind of situation. Yeah, but still, it has never been that easy to like to get girls like speaking about it openly. Yeah, so sometimes it was just men trying to figure out on their own, trying to learn and discover things on their own, which I think was not like the right thing to do, because well, you're learning from the people that don't experience, don't get to see those experiences. So yeah, I think that's what happened. But I think as I've grown up, it has become also much more easier. Yeah, and people that are my age now speak easily about it, so it's not really a problem anymore.
More. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at least the friends that I know, yes.
Thanks, Petro. With the ladies, what I observed was that when we began this conversation, and I started sharing the links with people in groups and also with individuals, like people who otherwise had not opened up or spoken to me about menstruation or even mentioned it ever before, started talking to me about their menstrual experience. I'm talking about ladies, and how, like, if they are going through something, now they kind of felt that this is somebody I can speak to now, So the ladies, I want to ask, like, since this conversation started, sharing the links with people, and even your personally in your reflections, do you feel that it's become a little more easier for you to open up to others about your menstrual experiences? And if so, why and how has it been? If anyone would like to go, Tawanda, Annie, anybody?
Okay, I'll go.
Yeah, Jane.
It definitely has become a little easier. And what also made it a little bit easier is, when people are isolated, right? It's not easy to talk about it, but when people come together and, really talk about this thing, you realize, maybe it's not such a big deal that you thought it was, right? So now for me, I see it more as, well, this is like part of woman anatomy, right? So just like we are able to discuss the brain, how it works, how it functions, why can I not, or why can we not discuss, menstruation? And if it was not for menstruation, none of us would exist, right?
That's true.
So we might as well, you understand, we not might as well, we should talk about it. It should no longer be something that's just reserved for women to talk about. Men need to, for lack of a better word, sorry, also learn and be aware, because they do have girlfriends, they do have sisters, and God forbid that they have a wife and she passes on, and who, do you understand, he has a girl child, right? Then he can't be running around like a headless chicken. So it's also for men to know. I no longer see it as this disgusting thing that happens to women, but it's just part of our lives. You understand? So it should no longer be a taboo, right? Because that's how we came to existence, basically, all of us. So yeah.
Thanks, Jane. Annie, I saw your hand up.
Yes, I had a contribution over the question you asked. So for me, talking about menstruation and menses in general has not been a hard thing for me, because I was a late bloomer. I had already learned my biology before I started my menses. So for me, and when I started my menses, I was in boarding school and I didn't tell anyone from home until like the term had ended. And so for me, I didn't go through the teachings, you'd call them. So menses never carried that holy grail feeling for me. So it's always been easy for me to talk about menses. But the question you asked, it hasn't really made me more comfortable, because I feel that I was just as comfortable before these talks. But what it has done, is that it has helped me initiate these conversations with my male friends, because I realized that it's not that they don't want to know about it. It's like, where do they start? Because they are under the impression that if I ask her, she'll be uncomfortable, she'll be offended. But I want to know. so I will not ask. So I took it upon myself to kind of, casually initiate these conversations with my male friends, and then you get a lot of questions and it opens up the conversation. So that's how it's impacted me in the menstrual topic.
How did you start, or how do you start any of these conversations with the guys?
So mainly, if maybe I'm chatting with a male friend and maybe it happens that I'm seeing my period, if they ask me how I'm doing, instead of the default that I would usually say to say, oh, I'm fine, because I'm not going to say I'm not okay. I will make mention that maybe I'm having cramps, or I'm having lower back pains, or I'm having crazy cravings, and they will ask me, and I would tell them, and I would just initiate and push the conversation, and they'll ask me, so is it this? Is it the same every month? And then I'll be open about answering those questions, and you can see how comfortable they get with the conversation as it goes on. And I like it. I sometimes push the conversation, but I like it.
That's nice. Yeah, it's great. I mean, so yeah, so like when someone asks, how are you doing? It's also one of the ways of opening up the conversation by just letting the person know how you're feeling at the time and telling them, okay, I think that's cool. Tawanda, I see your hands up. Oh, Davison, you have a question. I'll come to you after Tawanda. Yeah, Tawanda.
So yes, also sharing my experience on communication about menstrual related issues. So I remember when I started my period, I was in 9th grade. And then one morning I was on my period. So I took my pad, I put it on the enclosures, small wrappers that are left. So I got the small wrapper, put it in my pocket. Then a friend of mine at school, I don't know what she was doing. She was going through my pocket and she's like, so you've reached puberty. I was like, no, that's not mine. That's my auntie's. And then I was justifying what was going on. I was so embarrassed. But then I grew older. So yes, the embarrassment comes from just whole society and everything like that. But then when I grew older, I discovered my femininity. I realized I was the powerful feminist that I am. But now things are different. I open up conversations with people, especially if I'm talking to someone, like even when I'm talking to a guy, like I will make mention of they will know my menstrual cycle from the time that I'm ovulating, because I have very dramatic ovulations. I will mention it. If I like them, I would just mention it. Like even the people that I've dated know is remember to make mention of it. And like Annie said, I answer questions like, hey, I'm all right, but I'm having cramps, or I feel like this, or I feel nauseated, or I'm craving this because of my period, or because I'm ovulating, whenever someone asks me how I'm doing. And funny thing, there's this guy I liked who I used to talk to. So we were talking about, we had certain things in common, which was fitness, weight loss, and weight gain and stuff like that. So he was like, okay, so usually for men, this is what happens when we're gaining weight. How about you? So I started explaining to him. I'm like, I gain weight like this and this. But then of late, I noticed that I have really almost doubled my weight, because I've been eating too much because I'm ovulating. Then he asked me, he was like, don't you think you're oversharing? I'm like, what? I'm oversharing. I'm oversharing because I'm talking about my ovulation. Then I just realized that it made him very uncomfortable. So I was like, oh, so some people do feel uncomfortable talking about such things. So I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Wow. Yes. So, like your experience you're sharing. So like when you start sharing, you get to know how the person is receiving it, like in terms of their receptivity, that's cool. It's good to know. Davison, let's hear your question.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Hope you're getting me clearly.
Yes, please.
All right, thank you. So I have questions, and I really need to learn a lot, especially from the ladies, looking at how they are coming out. You know, I've been having opportunities to travel in a lot of communities, in a lot of places with the World Vision guys. And I've come to notice that these things actually happen and they are there. And the way we've noticed that we are living in a civilized world, like the way these ladies are coming out. Actually, there are girls out there in villages who don't actually know these things. And looking at the traditions there, they are unable to open up. Like just recently, I went on a tour there and somebody actually went through that. Actually, what they are told is immediately you reach that age where you have to go through menstruation periods like that, you don't have to talk to boys. And it has been like that. So actually, I wanted to find out, are there diseases related to such? Because to me, I thought it's a danger to those girls, because there are girls out there who don't have parents. There are young girls, school-going kids who don't have people to talk to, and actually they go through such without even, being taken care of. And the way the ladies were saying, what kind of men do they open up to? Like, what kind of men would you actually open up, because they are being selective? Is it to everyone? Because I'm there in the field and I really need to help somebody, but they are not opening up. So what kind of character should I possess for someone to open up to me? And are there any dangers? Are there any diseases related to such, so that I may educate those young girls out there? Thank you very much. I'm sure I have a lot other questions to ask. I'll definitely bring them out.
Yeah, you can type in the chat, Davison. Yeah, I think it will make the chat even more active as well. Thank you. This is a very good question. Yeah, Tawanda, yeah, if you would like to take it first. Tawanda, I think you're frozen. Okay, yeah.
Yes. So for most, especially in the Zambian culture, what I've observed is that when females reach of age, which is when they begin to menstruate, when they're at puberty, when they're at puberty, they share much with the young guy or with guys and just males in general, because they fear that it is at that age when females are able to get pregnant and stuff like that. So the whole stay away from boys, it's because now if you play with boys, you will get pregnant. In fact, these are the terms they use. They don't even say if you have sex or anything like that. They say if you associate with boys or if you play with boys, you will get pregnant, because now that you have reached of age and you are experiencing menstruation, you are able to have a child. And so they are warned against being associated with boys. And play is the term they use. Don't play with boys, because boys will make you pregnant. Yeah. And also the issue of sharing. I personally share with everyone, my male friends, from platonic friendships to a little more romantic relationships. I just share with everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Linky. Yeah, Linky.
Hi, everyone. So,
hi, Linky.
I wanna add to what is it Davison said. I live in a village. Young girls don't talk about these things. They are definitely taboo. And yet at the same time, there are families where the parents are sort of like what we consider well educated, so they're like teachers, nurses, and all of that. And we assume that because their parents are educated, they are talking to their girls about these things, only to find that they don't. And with these kids today, you have to be very clear, no mixed messages. And also, I am Shangan. So Shangans are considered to be extremely polite. We have a polite word for every single thing. We don't call a thing what it is. We will find a synonym for it that will even take it slightly further away to what it is. So, and to these young people, that adds even more confusion because they don't understand the terminology that the parents are using. So as a result, they end up getting pregnant. So as Davison said, they will say things like, oh no, it wasn't Davison, I think it was Tawanda, don't play with boys. I know a girl whose mom is a teacher, and then she started having her period, and she said she was taking a bath, she was on a bathtub, and then she just saw, or she felt the blood coming out. She saw it. She ran to her mom. She was scared. And I'm talking about maybe 5-6 years ago. She was scared, and the mom just gave her a pad, and then she said, here you go. Use this. Don't play with boys. And then soon she was in a relationship. And then she got pregnant. I think she was in grade 11. She got pregnant, she had a child. So I met this lady, Busim Kumbuzi. She would come here, we did all sorts of stuff with girls, and then we spoke about periods. And then we had a group of girls where we discussed these things, and these were some of the stories that they were telling. And she said, they told me not to play with boys. I wasn't playing with a boy, I was in a relationship. So you see the terminology that the parents are using, it's also not helping, but it's a big problem. And on the other hand, you have these young girls that are so eager to get their periods. They were telling us that they would eat raw eggs, you know, like all these funny things that you have never heard of. So that they can speed up the process. You know, they want their periods, they want boobs so that they can be considered to be, you know, an adult and all of that, and then have boyfriends and things like that. But there's a lot that is missing still, I feel, in our community. We see it every single day because we continue to have young people, young girls that are getting pregnant. And boys, I'm not even gonna go there. It's just something that they don't discuss, they don't talk about. Like I said, Shangans, Tsonga Shangan, we have everything has to be polite and proper, you know, and find synonyms. You don't say exactly what it is. You just sort of like hint, you know, there's even a song that we just, you know, hint, you know, you go about the bushes instead of just getting right to the point. It's a very interesting topic that it's worth discussing.
Right.
Thanks.
Thank you, Linky. So when you say Shangan, that's a tribe, right, or a clan? It's a.
You know, in South Africa we have 11 languages. That's just one of the 11 languages. So are we a tribe, a clan? It's big. We're like 800,000 or so. So yeah, yeah.
Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, I mean, no, I think these conversations, what it does, it helps us because we are in, I mean, all the members in this platform right now are scattered across the continent, right? And now across the world. So we can start having conversations in our communities to empower the young ones, right? So Davison wants to know, because it's always moving, how can he also encourage and open up conversations with the younger people or ladies he meets in these communities? Linda, you're in that space. You can also share. Linda.
I have a friend, she's a colleague, and she was telling me how she started her period at the age of 8. And she was at home on holidays. Her mom was away for a course, and she started her period. She didn't know anything, just 8 years old. And her father went and got her this post-maternal pad, very big for women who's supposed to be. And they gave it to the father, of course, he didn't know. He gave it to an 8-year-old child, and she put it down. She could barely walk. And she went back to school. And she remember her mother used to say, as soon as you start seeing that blood, if a boy touches you, you get pregnant. So that was the last thing on her mind. And she went to school, and this little boy was playing with her and started running after her. The faster she ran, the more the boy got closer to her. So the boy thought it was a game. So she ran as fast as she could until finally he touched her and he started laughing. And she started screaming and yelling. And the principal came. What happened? She said she's pregnant. And the principal, an 8-year-old girl, crying that she's pregnant. They took her to the staff room. What's going on? And she said, my mother said, if a boy touches me, once I start seeing blood, I'm pregnant. And the woman, of course, had a field day laughing at her. Then afterwards, sat her down and explained to her. As young as she was, she said she remember feeling like, I deserve to know the true information, but my mom was wrong. And that's what informed her becoming a nurse. Because she felt no young girl every girl should have access to this conversation and to understand. So girls need to know what touch means. What is touch? If you tell a girl, if a man touches you like they do in Nigeria, what is touch? Is it when you are asked to undress? Get familiar talking about their vaginas and their penis. Let them know what it is, the process. If it's touch, it can be my shoulder and the guy is telling me, take off your pants. And I don't know. That's what I'm not supposed to do. So this conversation should become very normal. I do that at our outreaches. And Davidson was asking about diseases and menstruation. The only time we will talk about disease when we are talking about menstruation is when there is poor menstrual hygiene. Of course, there is a high chance of a girl having an infection when she has a poor menstrual hygiene, when she doesn't take out the pad as at when you have her bath and just wear clean pants and all that. Or if she's using tissue paper because she cannot afford sanitary towels, if she's using the one they called a reusable pad and she's not washing it clean and sunning it properly, so that the blood is out of the fabric and is properly sun-dried before she wears it. All this can lead to infection for a woman. I won't call it diseases, let's just call it infection for a woman. And it can be life-threatening, and it can also cause infertility for some women. So this is what I was say, okay, poor menstrual hygiene can lead to infections for women, definitely not diseases. Then how can we have that conversation? If you're around girls, of course, it might be weird when you are standing alone, you're talking about menstruation. If you can go with another teenage girl, maybe someone older than the girls, and broach the conversation, they will soon get used to you being present there along with that female. Especially when you are coming with knowledge. For example, there's going to be a pad wearing demonstration, and you take a pant and you fix the pad, and the girls are watching you. They start feeling like, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. He knows what he's saying. And they'll start to talk to you and ask questions. Once girls feel comfortable and feel that this is a safe space where I can learn and not be judged, they will all start to open up. So yes, I believe every young man should be able to tell a child who they see is stained, her dress is stained, what next to do. Just call her, oh, you're stained. Go into that bedroom, wash yourself. If you don't, of course, the man might not have access to the pad. Go talk to that female teacher. Make it look as seamless and as normal as possible. You don't have to look alarmed, so the child doesn't feel traumatized. Yeah. It's so unfair that some girls actually started their period without anybody informing them, and they just saw blood and they started screaming and freaking out. Because, of course, what is a blood doing between my legs? I've seen such girls in our communities where they will tell you, nobody told me. I just saw blood and I was crying, I was scared, and it's a traumatic experience. So what I do for girls who are yet to start their period at our outreach, I remind them, now you know what to do. When yours eventually start, this is the first step. Of course, you get a bedroom and wash yourself clean, change your pad, get a pad, put it in there. We've done our pad demonstration several times. So the girls now know what to expect. I don't know if their mom is even still talking to them, but it doesn't matter. We've prepared them. So every girl deserves to know this. And I think young men also need to know, get familiar. When you get home today, or if you are at home, ask your sister for a pant or buy a reasonable pant and ask her for a piece of pad and fix it yourself. You might be in a position one day you have to help a young girl. Show her how it's done. It's okay. I am not gender unfriendly about this. I believe even men can play that role. Another girl said she was in school, a JS1 student in secondary school when her period started. And of course, she was screaming and she was just confused. And it was a math teacher, a young man, saw her looking so harassed, and he took her to the bedroom, stood outside and directed her, told her everything she should do. I'm sure someone taught that young man what to do. She said he made it look so normal. She felt safe. He didn't harass her. It was just so, it was as if it was a female that helped her through that process. Then he told her to go see a female teacher and take it up from there. So I believe every young man should be able to know the basics and start to taking advantage of the female in your life. I'm talking to the phone now, you can't see me, but you must, maybe you have a girlfriend, you have a sister, you can ask them, what do pads look like? Can I see the products available in the market? How do you even fix a pad in a pant? How do you dispose them? Yes, you should be able to also tell a girl, go have your bath. When you are done, this is how to dispose it. And at the end, wash your hands. It's very important. Menstrual hygiene is important. When you are done with that business, this is how to dispose. This is how to wash your hands. Just make it comfortable. And the girl will start to ask you questions because they are thinking that, okay, he's a man and he's so knowledgeable. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Linda. Yeah, that's rich. Yeah. Aditula, yeah.
Hi. So yeah, I mean, what Linda said is so informative and very, very, very important. Because I mean, like, I run a charity and we think that, I mean, I've seen a pad many times. I mean, I started seeing a pad since maybe I was like 8 years old, so no biggie. But the key thing is that we think that pads should be like part of clothing for women, because like Linda was saying something about girls that use pieces of clothes, tissue paper, and there's not a period where a woman needs to be extremely healthy and careful, like when she's on her period, because at those moments, the likelihood of, or the risk of infection and diseases is at an all-time high. And so we strongly canvass for that. About what she said, that we should know how to fit the pads and what kind of pads is very, very important, because women have all kinds of flows, and you need to know the pads that are for heavy flow and the thin ones. There are all kinds of pads out there. And so I've bought like a lot of pads in recent time, and we give out free pads to, not the reusable ones anyway, the sanitary
disposable one, yeah.
Disposable ones to women to have with every pack of clothing that we give out. Because you see, pads are expensive. And it doesn't make any sense that the pads should have any cost attached to them in the first place, because nobody chooses to be on period. This is like a normal issue, and I'm of the opinion that the pads should be free. But it's also very, very important that all these pads should be available, and the women should be able to reach out and have it. I think that lots of packs of pads should be readily available once you are an adult female or you started your period. But that's another discussion which we would have to get government involved with. But I think at the level of social foundations and the social sector, we would take that up seriously. But you need to know all of these things so that when the girl child needs access to the pad, you don't have to start thinking about, okay, how much is going to go out of my pocket, because that's what leads to unhygienic sanitary standards, because you're thinking that okay, how much am I going to expend? But I also think that, like Linda was saying, the whole idea of if a guy touches you, I think parents should be encouraged to tell the children exactly what they need to hear. Don't dance around the topic. The other lady was saying about the Shanga people being very polite. You are going to be polite and you're going to get somebody in trouble with your politeness. So about time you stop the politeness and tell the story exactly the way it is so that you can save a life. Because your politeness is just cultural, but it will risk a life. You could have told that girl exactly what she needs to know, and you would have saved her from teenage or early pregnancy that she was not ready for. So I think that guys need to get into this because this is very important. I mean, I know most of what I need to know about this, but the thing is that on a daily basis, we hear new things. So don't close your mind that you know everything about menstruation that you need to know. I mean, today I learned something new, which was totally weird to me, about menorrhagia, which is excessive flow of blood. And so with that kind of my friend, if she has a period next time, I'm asking her, how is her diet? How are you okay? Are you making sure that you're eating properly? Are you on your blood tonic and your medication? We need to know all these things so that we're not, I mean, women are part of life, just like men are part of life, and not knowing women is a mistake.
Yeah. Thank you, Adetola. So we are drawing close to the end. I see Annie. Let me see. Yeah. So what I wanted to, we'll hear from Queen. Maybe she'll have something to also share from her perspective as well. But how, taking this conversations, you realize that from like what Davison is saying, we now have to carry what we're saying and discussing from here into our communities and how we can actually make this information available to members in the community at the community level, make it more impactful. And how do we start these conversations? Do we need to start organizations or we form small groups like what Linky is doing in Pumalanga, a community group, work with teenagers and stuff like that. So some of you are in that space, you can share, Linda shared some of her experiences as well. Quinn, if you also would like to share something from your perspective, would like to hear.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like, really, thank you so much for sharing, everyone. Like, I've never had conversation like this. Like, even though I'm physically quite far away, I could easily, as member of a small community, relate to the things you shared. Like, we also had really common sentence like, "Don't watch the boys." And also, I can relate to the experience when you get your periods, and then your mother is quite aggressively saying like, you need to hide yourself and be careful with the boys. Like in our community, was not allowed to even dance with the boy. So all the high school proms, things like that, were not allowed at all. And also we had like a lot of rules what comes to, we also talk about like hygiene and stuff like that. So what comes to our like religion, for instance, we also had some rules what comes to our religion, when we can actually go to the altar when we are having periods, and when not, and things like that. And I think it was also interesting to talk about different ways of having like reusable pads or not, things like that, because at least in our community, it was also not allowed to, for example, use certain kinds of pads, for example. Like we had quite a lot of rules what comes to that, but really important and healing conversation for myself too. I didn't want to interrupt anyone, so I didn't raise my hand or anything, but thank you very much, really.
But how is the experience in Finland, like when growing up and these discussions come up, like how is it like?
Well, I think because
how do you get to talk about menstruation with have you spoken about it to friends, colleagues, stuff?
Yeah, well when I was smaller, I of course I grew up in my own small community, Vietnamese group, and I think it was in the beginning, it was quite shocking, because usually, you know, when we went to school, the teachers were quite open about it. In the end, we get that through the education, but I think that was the point when I had like cultural shock, with other my community members because we are such a small group with the culture around us. Like we really didn't understand like how we can talk about this, and also when you really get pregnant, you don't get pregnant by watching a guy, for example. So I would say like the general atmosphere when it comes to this topic is quite like easy and open for women. And we also have some campaigns, for example, that are promoting that it's okay to have like to share about these things. But what comes to like my position in the society, I think we maybe the cultural crash happened there a little bit at least.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Chidi, would you want to go? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think I've just been sitting and listening and learning, but also reflecting on how I remember things. I think the highlights or something that I'm going to take back home is, moving forward is that experience, like just talking about like in Zambia, like what I've heard about the context in Zambia. And I think with the Tonga people also that she mentioned, it made me think like, oh, this might be, I know, Africa, I don't know, we're united, but actually even in experience as women, this is something, and as young people actually, so even like the men on the call in terms of like learning how to be, yeah, I don't know, like I just have so many thoughts about it. I could go on, but I'm just mostly like just grateful for the experience to learn. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Chidi. Annie, do you have any final thoughts? You're just taking a few final thoughts on it and how we can actually open up the conversation. So if anybody else wants to make or share, the person can. I see Sana's.
All right. So I feel I just have one thing that I want to make mention, and even as the meeting goes to an end, that we should also take into consideration, because Dave asked something about how we know what we need to do, but how do we get to these young girls that still consider this a taboo, and it's been passed down through lineage. The other thing is also talking to the women and the older women, because I remember very well when my older sister had already seen her period, she was actually not allowed to play with me or the younger girls. So not only is this female being told they can't be around boys, but they're also being told more like to seclude themselves when they're on their period, or because they've now seen their period, they can't hang out with other females that they want to hang out with. So I think that can also be a channel, because I feel like a young girl would actually be much more open to her older sister or her auntie or things like that. So that could be, I think, a possible channel.
Yeah, and like I think that's a very important thing, like how we actually get to speaking about it. I think that's very important. Petra, I see your hands.
Yes. Yeah. For my final remark, I'd like just to say something to the men. So I'll go back to the question of how do we make ourselves like approachable, like people can approach us and speak to us about their experiences. I think what we need is it's a level of kindness and also lovingness. How much like how caring we are, or how loving we are. And when we ask how somebody's doing, do we really mean that we want to know how they're doing? And when they tell us how they're doing, do we care? Do we try to go deep and say like, what is it is going on and how can we help? So I think that's the issue. So men need to be more kind and caring, and that will solve some of these issues that we're having. Yeah, that's my final words.
Thank you. I think yeah, that's deep. Like we should actually care. When you're asking a question, you should really care about the answer, care for the answer, And I also, I mean, reflecting on all of these and how over time, people have also been opening up to me, talking about menstruation and stuff. I feel that when people feel that you welcome a conversation around the subject, they become more relaxed around you and then can share experiences, and we would like to hear what you have to share or what you have to say. So I think it's the same thing for the gentlemen. I think we can also try to let ladies around us know that we are comfortable with the subject. And so if they have any issue, they can freely talk to us about it. And that sometimes I think you can you can just ask questions if maybe that's not invading into private spaces, but at certain times, if you feel that the conversation, how the conversation is going, and you feel that it's a good time, you can talk to the person about something that's personal. You can, and probably the person may feel comfortable to talk about it. Yeah. So these are our final moments. Okay, Tawanda, I see your hand.
And yes, just so in addition to what you said, maybe asking about it would be somewhat heavy for someone. So maybe a good gesture that a male would do to like start or open the conversation is maybe get your female friend or your girlfriend a packet of sanitary pads. I feel that's not only caring about how someone is doing, it's also a practical way that you show that you care.
Okay.
And to actually think about it. So yeah, that's it.
That's nice. Yeah, it's cool. What do you think, ladies? I hope nobody will think that you're undermining their whatever, or you're thinking that they come by parts, because someone can also misinterpret that. But I think it's actually a good one, because every lady uses sanitary products. Yeah. See, my friend Sanaz is here, but yes. So we are rounding up now. If there is any final comments, then that'll be it. Otherwise, hi Sanaz.
Yeah.
Linda.
Yeah, about how to have the conversation about or broach the topic about menstruation for boys, for men, not boys now. I would say just sound as genuine or sincere as possible. Women can sense when you are asking because you actually want to make fun, or you're looking like, what are you talking about? Like, I will stop talking if you make me feel uncomfortable. But when you keep it neutral and you look genuinely curious and just concerned, like, okay, what is it like? Even if it doesn't make sense. Like somebody said earlier, just remember to be kind and listen. If there's a part you don't understand, ask questions. But even while asking the question, choose your words carefully. Don't become offensive while you're trying to ask questions. Don't use offensive words. We're adults. I know you know what I mean. Just be genuine in your ask. Be genuine in your ask. And I think once a woman says this is a safe space and I can speak, they will always talk. Really, they will always talk. That is just the truth. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Davison, and then we have Genevieve. So Davison, Genevieve, and then if someone else would like to say anything, that's fine.
All right.
Davison.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. I just want to say thank you, everybody, for this wonderful topic. When I saw this message coming, like I was like, what? The first time I saw this message, I was like, joining a menstrual period topic and stuff. What? That's just for girls and stuff. But when I actually experienced what is actually happening out there, I feel I need to take what I've learned today out there. I feel like going to tell a girl child out there what this really means, because I believe more people should be listening to this kind of stuff, especially men, now that this thing has just come out of an open like that. So I think I've learned a lot today. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Davison. Yeah, Genevieve. Petro, is there a new one or on the old hand?
Okay. All right.
Hold on.
Yeah, my mind. Okay, so going back to I think some of the things that I forgot her name. I think it's Linda, if I'm not mistaken, right? I just have a few pointers, so please bear with me. So adding to what Linda said and to answer Davison's question regarding are there any diseases? There are no diseases. I think infections come with using also the incorrect product. The incorrect product would be tissues because it's not made for that, right? It's not made to absorb menses, and it also crumbles, and that is what may cause infections, right? The second part to that is not changing your sanitary towels regularly. And that also depends on flow, right? If you are heavy flow, you have to change constantly. And changing your sanitary towels and you are not bathing or washing yourself, that may also cause infections, right? And the other thing that sort of like a motivation, I think for the men, if you have a wife or you have a girlfriend, né? They say charity starts at home or begins at home. So I feel that should be or ought to be your practice ground with the knowledge that you have acquired or that you have now. Your sisters, you understand, your girlfriend, that is your practice. So when you do go outside to other people, to other girls, you basically have the experience, you see. And to the guys, you know, there is a saying, and I guess to all of us, let me not just, you know, with knowledge comes power, or power comes with knowledge. Now that you know what you know right now, there is a duty. I don't want to say obligation, but maybe I should say obligation for you to do something with the knowledge that you have now, because then it would be a waste of your time to gather all this information or to hear all of this and you still continue the same way you have been. And what else? My last point would be, and I've been feeling strongly about this lately, I've been thinking about it, that boys and girls need to be taught about menses before they get to the age where they get menses, so that when boys see a girl getting a menses, it's not this big thing or where they just get scared or it becomes something to make fun with. And I feel it should not only be the job or the what do you call it? It should not just be on education. It should, the onus should not be
and
for the
teachers
educators to do that. You understand? It should start at home. Mothers need to be open with the fathers as well about this, so that in the event that she's not there and things happen, that the father does not freak out, that he's able to help out his girl child. That if in the instance that both the father and the mother are not there and the brother is there, that the brother is able to guide or to help his sister out. You understand?
Yeah.
That is my take on it. Anyway, I don't want to be too long, but
beautiful.
with just the things that I've been thinking about.
Thanks.
And
I mean, that's
pregnancies, unwanted pregnancy. If it says if boys know from a young age that when girls start getting their periods, if we do funny business, and then, you know, children are gonna pop out. You understand? I think that conversation need to be had. How? I don't know yet, but it has to be had.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Genevieve. Linky, I see your hands, and then I'll have Sanas share some few reflections. Yeah, Linky.
Yeah, so I think just to add on what Genevieve was saying, another platform that can be used to educate the girls, I think are churches. We had a thing today at work. We've been celebrating women throughout the month of August. And we had a function at the church, and the wife's pastor was very good, you know, at talking to the girls about all sorts of things. And there's just something about that space that grabs people's attention. And also, I think because it was so unexpected to have the sorts of conversations that we're having in there, they sort of like land, they stay. So because as we are talking, I'm thinking like, but what do we do about it? You know, where does one sort of like continue with this conversation so that it doesn't end here? And for me, that is one of the spaces that came to mind, because almost every single Sunday they gather and they have girls and women. But also, like Genevieve said, I think the people that we really need to reach are our mothers and fathers, because whether we like it or not, there are certain beliefs that they have that we cannot just, you know, change just like that. There has to be some dialogue that needs to start happening. And then somewhere down the line, I think we will sort of like connect. So I'm thinking that churches are some of the spaces where I know that personally I can start. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, that's great. Yeah, it's a great space to use. Yeah, right. Yeah, so let's hear from Sanaz, and then if Sunday would want to talk, fine, Galaxy A12. If not, then we'll be out of here. Yes, Sanaz, it's good to see you.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, DJ, for sending a message for me, but I'm so sorry, my apologies to joining too late in this conference, and it's fitting, but it's really nice to see you and hear the last, at least, points of your view. I didn't have enough time to think about, and this is so interesting topic for me, especially my society, which is a closed society, and it's not usual to talking about this kind of certain issues. But I think that, Miss Zongolo, I agree with her. She really pointed out good informations. We need some days, some national days, I think, during calendar, in order to increase the information, increase the knowledge of citizens and human. For example, National Peace Day. In that day, governments should increase the information about what's happening on this day to girls, and this is something that it's difficult for even girls or women to talk about and with themselves, let alone with their opposite sex, I think. I think for me as a girl, first of all, I need to understand it completely. I need to increase my information. That's something unusual happening to me. And the next step, I think educating all the people of the society needs to face this issue and not to differentiate it, that this is so strange things that happens to girls. It should be normalized, and that's from me. I hope I make sense.
Oh, you made perfect sense. Thanks, Sanaz.
Thank you for listening.
I'm sure they don't know where you're joining us from. If you'd like to share where you're joining us from.
Yeah, I'm joining from Iran. If you have heard about it, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. You know, one of the things I've been thinking about is how South-South collaboration is something we can actually learn from, because as much as the Africa, and we have peculiar situations here that we are dealing with and we are trying to resolve, in other parts of the world, in other developing countries, they're facing similar challenges as we are facing in Africa. And I feel that at certain instances, we can learn cross borders and learn from each other. Yeah. So I extended invitation to some of my friends from other places. Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you, Sanaz. Thanks
Thank you.
everyone. Yeah, I think it's been a wonderful conversation. We'll keep pushing these conversations, and we will keep delving in deeper. And possibly, we know that we are going to start. Some of you are already doing the work in your locations. We're going to find more funds or means of supporting or generating enough money to support the menstrual and women activities that we are doing in our various communities through this platform. Yeah, so we'll keep pushing, and hopefully we'll get some funding to support the works that we are doing. Yeah, Davison, is it a new hand? You're giving us our last comment, or is it an old hand?
No.
Old one, okay.
Really.
So
Sure.
Thank you very much. And on this note, would like to say thanks, and that's the end of the conversation. We'll upload it on our YouTube channel, so you can always check. If you've not subscribed, please do. Some people are now joining. Okay. All right. Bye-bye, everyone. It was nice having you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Have a nice weekend, everyone.
Bye.
Bye,
Nice
guys.
weekend.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 Au revoir. Ewenam, yeah, welcome. Ewenam, you came to close us.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
goodness.
I just saw it somewhere, and then I was like a bit curious. I just wanted to join for the first time and see. I'm late.
Oh, yeah, extremely late. It would have been so great to hear your experiences. But I mean, yeah. So watch out for the next one. We always try to start on time so that we'll close on time. Yeah,
Okay.
So do well to join early next time.
All right. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you. Annie, yeah,
Bye.
everybody, Jen. It was great having everyone Sunday, Galaxy A12. Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to leave. All right, bye.
Okay, bye everyone.